What I'm doing here today is replacing the ball joints, the lower ball joints on a 2006 Dodge Dakota, as well as the upper control arm that contains the ball joint as one assembly. To do that, we're going to jack the vehicle up, place it on some jack stands. The parking brake is set, and on the rear of the vehicle we block the wheels. And if you don't have the assistance and care tools, what you're going to need to do is break loose the tightness of the lugs as well as the axle nut. So you may have to pop your center cover out, reinstall your wheel, and then with it on the ground, take and loosen up your axle nut. Okay, we'll take a steel hammer here and hit it really hard on this knuckle here, and that'll pop down. Oh, it didn't pop down. What I have here, they call this a pickle fork. You can usually get this on a Loan-A-Tool program at most automotive stores. We'll just hammer that in there. So the disadvantage of using a pickle fork on here is that this rubber boot will get damaged many a times. If you're just needing to take the steering knuckle off and you want to save your boot from damage, they do have these tools here. You would just pound that in there, tighten this bolt up, and it pushes down on that stud there to knock your ball joint apart. 35 millimeter, we'll take this axle nut off here. Okay. So what you're going to want to do is try to push your caliper in a little bit so it'll slide off easier. We're going to take this all in one piece here, the caliper and the caliper bracket. On the back side there, there's two bolts, and then we're going to take a wire and then hang it from the strut spring here to make sure we don't put any stress on the rubber line. Okay, I got these two substantial bolts out that hold the bracket on there. I'm going to just go ahead and slide this all the way off the rotor here and then hang it on the strut spring. Just take and slide the rotor off here. If it's stuck on there a little bit, just take a hammer and hit it on the face here and it'll break the rust. Okay, what we want to do is loosen up this axle that's in the wheel hub here. So you want to only use a soft hammer to pound that in, or I'm going to just use a air hammer here with a bit on there and then push the axle in. Yep. So up on the upper thing here, there is a castellated nut with a cotter pin. We'll just want to remove that cotter pin, and we're going to break that loose. Okay, now that that's loose and then all the way to the bottom, we'll just still leave the nut on there to hold that. And what we're going to do is hit this with the hammer, and hopefully that'll pop out the top ball joint there. Okay, there's no castellated nut on the bottom ball joint. It just happens to be a 24 millimeter. We'll just go ahead and loosen that up with a pry bar.
Okay.
So what you want to do is next unplug the ABS line here, and it is just attached up here on this inner fender skirt. Just push that out of there, and there is a little tab right here. You want to pry up on that, and that will unlock it from the weather pack harness. So we'll take our tie rod end and take that out. Now on our very bottom ball joint here, we want to go ahead and jam a pickle fork in there and then break that bond on the bottom ball joint. Okay, so what you want to do is loosen up the nuts all the way to the end, and then we're going to take this whole steering knuckle off. So it's best that you leave the bottom one on there, and then that way it doesn't fall off, and then we'll go ahead and take that off. We'll take this whole steering knuckle out. Alright, we'll edit that out.
Okay, it's on.
Okay. So now with that nut off the bottom there, we can just take our steering knuckle. Okay, next, to get this bottom ball joint out, we need to remove this clip here, and if it's rusted in, you want to take a wire brush and then clean that off. Take snap ring pliers. I squirted it down with some penetrating fluid, and you want to wear some safety glasses while you're doing this, and get this ring out of there.
Okay.
Okay, we got a ball joint press here. I got a cup that'll fit around it on the bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and take the impact here and then run that down. Okay, here's our new ball joint here. I got a cup that'll fit it here, and we'll go ahead and push that in. There are two kinds. There's kinds with the grease fitting on there, and what you want to do is you'll look at the boot. If it has a grease fitting, obviously this one does not, but most of them do. You want to look at the boot, and they'll say inboard on the boot, and because you have a grease fitting, the grease will purge out, and you do not want that towards the brake rotor because there's a chance you would get it on your brake rotor. So you have to look very closely to the rubber boot here to make sure you put it in the correct way. So I got it just resting in there. I'm going to pull it in a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and then add a collar here for it to go up into. This happens to be a piece of exhaust pipe. So if you don't have, a lot of these kits don't have the correct size that you need, just grab a inexpensive piece of exhaust pipe and then make your own. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I got the new snap ring here. You want to wear some eye protection, put that on there. We're all done with the bottom one.
There you go.
Okay, for the upper control arm here, it's an 18 millimeter on the outside. The inside has a little blade on the nut that you don't need to hold that nut on there, and we'll go ahead and remove the bolts on each side of the upper control arm. Okay, well, we can just simply pull these out of there. Okay, I got our new control arm here. Slide that in there, put a bolt in. And we'll put our nut on the back with that little ear, both sides, and we'll tighten that down. Okay, I got the bolts in on the top there. This one has a Zerk fitting, so I'm going to go ahead and install that and just snug it up, and I'll fill it up with grease. Okay, I put a little bit of grease here on the actual shaft spline. Do not get any on the threads. I did that just so it slides in the hub easier in case we have to change a hub bearing in the future. It'll slide off better. So we'll go ahead and put the steering knuckle back on the bottom. Just start the castle nut, and then we'll go ahead and push in the top control arm and put the nut on there.
Okay.
And we'll put the tie rod end in and tighten that down.
Okay.
So the bottom castle nut, you want to tighten it up till it lines up with a hole so you can stick the cotter pin in there, and you want to tighten that to 95 foot-pounds or 129 newton meters. Our top one here is 70 foot-pounds or 95 newton meters. Okay, this will be at 75 newton meters or 55 foot-pounds is what you want to torque this to. Okay, got that cotter pin in there, and I bent it around so that'll be nice and secure. I'll do the same for the top. Okay, we'll go ahead and put our axle nut on here. Now we'll take our rotor, put that on there. And then we'll take some brake clean and clean the whole surface down. Okay, what I'm going to do is for our caliper bracket bolts, put a little bit of Loctite on there. Okay. We'll slide our caliper on there and line that up and start those bolts in there. So you need to transfer that clip from the old one there to your new control arm. and then go ahead and connect your ABS on there. Now we'll knock the center cap out here so we can torque our axle nut. And we'll put our wheel on, and I'll run that down the lugs by hand, and then I'll hit it with the impact. Okay, put it on the ground here. I'm going to go ahead and torque the center axle nut there, and then I'm going to put the lug nuts at 135 foot-pounds or 183 newton meters. Okay, now we're all done here. We'll go ahead and put our center cap back in, and then we'll want to pump our brakes a few times to make sure that the caliper is expanded. Then when we're done with that, we'll take and remove the parking brake and the blocks on the rear wheels.